know how strong a believer I am in networking. And I have a guest on this morning who's written a terrific book. Her name is Lucy Rosen. The book is written with Claudia Greivat's Copquin. It's called Fast Track Networking, Turning Conversations into Contacts. Korea Press is the publisher, and it's in paperback. Lucy Rosen is the president of Smart Marketing Solutions Group. It's a leading marketing, public relations, and business development firm. And she's done a lot. She's the founder and president of Women on the Fast Track. Congratulations for that, having a wife and two beautiful daughters, and been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and Entrepreneur. The book is invaluable because as much as I say to people, get out there and connect and make those connections because it will lead to something, a lot of people are reluctant to do it, so Lucy's going to tell you why you should do it this morning. Good morning. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning, Stu. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here talking about a subject that is near and dear to me because I'd like to consider myself a consummate networker. And boy, when you reach out and create relationships, amazing things can happen. But if you sit still and you want to wait for people to come to you, you can do it if you're, if you're one of the illustrious, high-profile people where you can sit and wait for those things to happen. 99% of us aren't, so we've got to get out there and make those opportunities. What do you say to people as far as the importance of this networking today, much more so than in the past because of the difficulties in the economy? A lot of people are frustrated. This is the time to capitalize on it. What's your advice?
This is the time really for people to dig down into their existing relationships and look at how they can connect one to another. I think a lot of people are feeling frustrated about networking because they're approaching it like sales, which is what can people do for me rather than what can you do for them. The only way to create a networking relationship with somebody is to reach out first and to think give, not get. And I think that when you start thinking about what you can do for somebody else and how you can make a difference in their life and in their business, you're going to be a lot further ahead in the game.
Well, it's also the consummate definition of networking. By reaching out to help other people while strategically positioning yourself, by doing some good, opportunities will arise and come to you. If not, if you've done something good, you'll feel better about it. It'll make you much more connect in going out there. And I know there are people who say, well, I really don't have the personality to do it. I'm just a little bit shy about going out. And then I try to remind these people that each of us has a sphere of influence of at least 250 people, and you multiply that exponentially. I mean, if you can reach 1,000 people, 1,500 people, good things are going to happen. So
right.
What are some of the basic ways to do it? We hear more about, Facebook and LinkedIn and BNI, of course, all great avenues. Well, what's your basic advice to people who, number one, are a little bit gun-shy and those who are much more proactive and aren't sure which direction to go in?
For those people that are shy and those far outnumber the people that feel comfortable going out into the world and starting this networking relationship, again, if you go back to whether you're at an event and acting like a host or a hostess and you are there to make sure that everyone else has a good time, it gives you a sense of purpose and it doesn't feel so self-promoting. I think one of the reasons why people feel shy in a networking situation is because they think that it's about them, that they're there to connect themselves with people that could either hire them, utilize them, that they want to have a relationship with them. And I have found, because I am fairly shy in large networking events, that if I'm there to connect Mary to Bill and Dave to Jim, that I have a purpose. Not only do I have a purpose, but then I'm seen as a connector, and I am a connector, and then they come back to me, just like what you said, expanding my sphere of influence and becoming valuable in the business world and valuable as a networker. So for shy people, I think that there's two approaches. Number one is being the connector and being the hostess, not for yourself, but for somebody else. And number two, there's nothing wrong with asking people for help. This isn't something that you've got to do as a solo activity. You can ask somebody who is well-known in the community or well-known in your business circle, hey, help me out here. I don't know how to make a connection with somebody. Can you make the connection for me? And then it's really up to you. It's up to you on how you introduce yourself. It's up to you on what you have to offer. That's the other thing. A lot of times people think that they don't have anything to give. But if you step back and you think about all the experiences and all the things that you've done in your life, you have a tremendous amount to give. It's just a matter of thinking about what it is and then plugging it into the people that you meet.
And there are so many ways to go about it, and we'll have you address some of those ways. But it's important to spend time with people you don't know, but don't spend too much time. Go on, make your contact, and get out. I have a certain procedure or process, Lucy, that I have used in the past, and I use if it's an event that I go to, and there's all kinds of great food and everything. You know what I do? I do that earlier afterwards. I get there. I'm always the first one there, and that way I spend only the time necessary, and it's a polite way to do it. In terms of introducing yourself, you want to go through the process in terms of how you should do it and how much time you should spend with people, because it is a solid business proposition and value proposition in order not to waste too much. I see people who waste too much time with other people, people who are too busy engaged in superfluous conversations when someone important is there. It always amazes me.
That's right. The way I do it is I always arrive early, and I've always eaten before I go. But I walk the outside perimeter of the room, and I introduce myself to every single person that's standing against the wall. And I like to look at this as kind of a, remember those junior high school dances where all the boys were on one side and all the girls were on the other, and nobody knew who to talk to, so I talk to everybody. But the way that I do it is, if I introduce myself to everybody, as I meet more people that seem to or should be connected to the people that I just met, I'll bring them back over and introduce them to the other person. So number one, it creates less people standing against the wall. Number two, again, it goes back to that. It gives me a purpose to be there. And number three, I get to meet everybody on the outside of the wall, working myself to the inside of the room, and then I leave. I'm always the first one to get there, the first one to go, and I don't spend more than 2.5 minutes with each person, because that's not the place to have an in-depth conversation. That's a place to meet people, exchange cards, obviously wait for somebody to ask you, can I have your business card? Shoving a business card under somebody's nose and saying, here's my card, is not the way to do this. I always ask for cards, I always write notes on the back, and I always connect with every single person that I meet in a room. Not for my benefit, but for the people that I need to network them to. So that's really important. There's a lot of people that want to hang on. You meet them and they think, oh, good, I have somebody to talk to, and they want to stay with you all night. That's another thing. If that happens, you turn to somebody walking by and you pull them into the conversation, you introduce the two of them, and then you move on. So there's little tricks to knowing, number one, how to get away from a hanger-oner, which those are the people that are uncomfortable with introducing themselves. And number two, how long to stay with somebody? Not long. You don't close a deal at a networking event. You don't, forge a relationship with people. And you're there to meet people and then follow up and then have a conversation and then figure out if there's, synergy between you and the other person or you and the people that, that you might know. So I agree with you. Get there early. Don't eat. Spend a limited amount of time with people and move on.
The book is Fast Track Networking, Turning Conversations into Contacts. Lucy Rosen. It's published by Korea Press in paperback. It'll give you the basics to get out and do it. I mean, you've got to get out there and make the attempt. Also, when you get those business cards, and here's some other advice, and Lucy talks about all of this. In my business card, Lucy, it has a picture of me, and it has a message on my card. The message is exactly what my objective is when I hand out the card. And when I go to places, not only do I make sure I always have something to hand out, although you brought up an important point. It's not about you, it's about the other person. Always have the other person that give you the card first and take those notes and follow up. I've got people who come back, I hear about them, I go to an event, I met 500 people. Is it followed up? No, I'm going to wait for them to contact me. People do business with people they know, they like, and trust, and the best way to establish a relationship is to do something to be proactive, but don't step over the line. Use all those great tools today. How about the Internet? What tools do we have that you recommend people to use that maybe they couldn't use 3-4 years ago?
I think that the Internet is an incredibly valuable resource if used right. I see too many people delving into social media and posting things about, lowly black sheep and the fact that they're having hamburgers this weekend, and that's not good social business networking. That's good personal social networking. So, the general rule of thumb for social networking and for posting things on sites, whether it's, Facebook or Twitter, are you don't want to say anything that you wouldn't say at a cocktail party. So it's not the time to post things about your 4-year-old, losing their front tooth. Nobody's interested. But it is a place to engage in conversations. It's a place to engage in conversations about what's happening in your industry, not what's happening in your business, and not the fact that you're selling a 4-bedroom house for, $300,000 and this week is an open house. It's not a sales vehicle. It's a conversation vehicle. And I think that's where most people are falling short in the social media world, is that they're posting anything and everything just to get their name out there, and that's not going to create a good following, and that's not going to create good relationships. Because again, this is not about sales. This is about conversations. This is about conversations that are of interest to the people that you're talking to. I think LinkedIn is terrific. I've connected with all sorts of people that I haven't seen or heard from in 30 years, and it's really cool to see where they've gone, and that's been a wonderful thing. And again, it expands that sphere of influence and allows you to connect with even more people. But by and large, I still think face-to-face. I still think that the art of the handwritten note, I still think picking up the telephone is far more valuable than anything that the Internet can offer us. And that might be because, I'm older than 25, but I think that this current generation, if they leave all networking up to the Internet and social media, they're going to be missing out on that key element, which is relationships. You cannot see what somebody's thinking or feeling and can't read their body language if all you're doing is reading posts on Twitter.
Take Nancy, take Lucy Rose's advice. Buy the book, Fast Track Networking. There's so much in here, so much more. Turning conversations into contacts, career, press. Stay on with me for a second, Lucy, but I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And there's an opportunity to contact Lucy as well. You got a website quickly?
LucyRosen.com.
There you go, nice and simple. You see, there's an opportunity for you. We'll be back.